Welcome back to Light the Fuse, your weekly Mission Impossible fix. Charles, how we feeling about wrapping this Ben Rosenblatt mega interview up in such a timely fashion?
I feel wonderful. Is it timely?
I guess 3 episodes. Maybe we went a little long, but
but it was worth it.
Ben was very generous with his time. Yeah,
he had so many great stories, and we were like, you know what, we've got to do this in 3 parts because there's just so much to talk about with each one. And I have some things to break down at the end of the show, but I don't want to spoil them now. So yeah, but Ben was such a great. He just had a lot of energy and was so fun to talk to, and hopefully he's going to help us get connected to some other people associated with Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation.
Yes, you guys are not hearing how every 5 minutes we would stop and say, "Oh, we would love to talk to so and so."
Yeah, we did edit out. I think most of those. I feel like there might be a couple still in the interview.
That's okay. You get a peek behind the curtain there. Yeah, we cannot thank Ben for his time because he gave us a lot of time. Obviously, we made 3 episodes out of this, so thank you, Ben. And let me just do my shout-outs real quick, Charles, and we'll jump right into this interview, but we have a lot of stuff to talk about at the end of the episode, I know. So this episode was brought to you by Jeremy Dillon and his amazing podcast, My Favorite Album, where he talks to different musicians, songwriters, filmmakers, actors about the music they love and how it's inspired them and their work. This episode is also brought to you by John B., a faithful Patreon member for a long time, right? Like years, I feel like, at this point.
Yes.
And if you want to become a sponsor of the podcast, just go to patreon.com/lightthefuse, sign up for that level. But you can also just get in touch with us if you want to sponsor it as a one-off or a couple of times. We can totally figure that out and make it happen. So please come join the IMF with us and sponsor this show. But without further ado, here is part 3 of Ben Rosenblatt, and we'll be back at the end to discuss.
What was the intern shot on the roof of Bad Robot for Ghost Protocol?
Oh, yeah, the intern shot. So one of the things we did with JJ on all of his films, since I got to Bad Robot, starting with Super 8, was we started to shoot pickup shots. Rather than doing like full-on reshoots, we would start to get pickup shots around the office. And we did this starting with Super 8, and we'd get really good at faking things. And this came from JJ, from his, his days making like Super 8 movies or whatever, like, oh, this out of focus background can match this other West Virginia background, and we could paint a little backdrop to kind of look like this office and do a long lens shot, and it'll be out of focus, or we can set up this thing in the backyard to look like, we put some extras in front of it. And so we would get all these shots that way. It was really, we just kept expanding it. And there was a shot that Brad wanted to have for the Burge sequence, when he loses the gloves are failing and he loses his grip and he falls a little bit. We wanted to be able to cut to like a real close up of the hand kind of dragging down. It's a very short shot, but we wanted to be able to get it. And we were like, you know what? At first it started with that guy, Andrew Kramer, and like, could we do it in CG? And then we were like, well, if we could probably shoot something like this. And so what we did was we took a piece of plexiglass onto the roof, and we did a proof of concept where we had an intern wear the glove and put their hand on the glass as though it's Tom's hand. And we shot it and did a proof of concept to show that we could do it. And at this point, Tom was coming in every other day or whatever to editorial. And so we had this plan with JJ. I went to JJ and was like, here, let's get Tom to shoot it. And it was sort of magical because there was Tom Cruise, and we brought in just our second unit DP, Bruce McCleary, and very minimal crew. Like, we just had like a couple of people there. And Tom was like, yeah, I'll shoot it. And he came up and he took his shirt off, and he goes up to an intern and he asked the intern who's the stand-in, okay, how did you do it? Like, where was your hand positioning? So this intern is like showing Tom what the shot is. It was such a cool moment, and
that's amazing.
And then Tom, does that actual shot, and thankfully I have pictures of that.
Wow!
If you guys want them,
yes, we do.
If you're willing to Share them. We'll put them in our show notes. We love that stuff.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll dig them up and I'll send it to you. But anyway, it's great. It's like you have the intern there, putting it, and then you have Tom there, like right after, and it was great, right on the roof of Bad Robot. It was fun to shoot that for sure. One of the things that just kind of makes working a Bad Robot with JJ and like all that phase of my life just all very, very magical when stuff like that would happen.
Because the Lindelof stuff was shot behind the office, right?
Yeah, the Lindelof shot was it was like kind of down the street. Actually, there was like this kind of like warehouse that I want to say they used it to shoot some of House, but anyway, I can't remember. But yeah, we had a few different places, and it was like you walk in and the van was there, and then this other little set was there, and like all this, there was we faked the conversation at the end, by the water at the table with the lights and all that, but it was all nearby, and it was like super easy to shoot that stuff and like convenient and all that, and it just became a thing. Like I know they keep doing it on Bad Robot, on JJ's movies and stuff, doing these like we kept making it more and more. So like by the time we did Star Wars Episode 7, Force Awakens, we did like a massive shoot all at Bad Robot, where like we had a sort of a makeshift like Millennium Falcon cockpit on the roof, and they're like the gunner seat in the theater next door and in the other theater, where like literally you could walk around Bad Robot. And what was so cool about that was you had the actors walking around when we did the Star Wars stuff. So you had Harrison Ford dressed as Han Solo walking around the office, like with assistants and interns like at their computers, and like I'll send you a picture of Tommy Harper and Daisy. She's in her full costume, and he's just like in his office talking to Ray. It's just like, it just felt very much like, what world are we living in that this is all happening right now? It was so crazy, but I think they continue to do it, which is pretty cool.
That is so funny.
Yeah, it's really great stuff.
Well, Charles, should I ask the big questions? Are we at that stage?
Did we cover everything? Is there anything else that you wanted? I mean, I know there's like maybe a couple of things here.
Well, we should ask you. What do you remember about the snow chase in Ghost Protocol? Our favorite deleted sequence.
Oh my God, the snow chase. Wow. God, that was so crazy. It's so funny you bring these things up and you just don't even remember them. Like, you don't remember that they existed until you hear it again. You're like, oh my God, the snow chase.
Yeah, we saw Paula Patton, the photos of Paula Patton in her snowmobile garb.
It was so crazy. It was so crazy. She looked great. By the way, speaking of, just surreal, I remember Michael Kaplan at one point, like, I remember we were screening a screen test of some suits for Tom, It was another one of those kind of surreal moments where you have Tom looking at himself wearing a suit and, like, commenting on it as though it's not himself, And you're just like, what universe am I in right now? It's really crazy. But yeah, I think Michael Kaplan must have been a really fun interview. I love Kaplan.
He was amazing.
He's the best.
Yeah.
He's the best. He's really funny, and he generally is like, he doesn't give, he'll say anything, but he'll say what he thinks. I think the interesting thing about the by the way, speaking of deleted scenes, like, have you guys seen that scene in the van? The deleted scene in the van?
Yeah, with it's just Paula Patton and Simon Pegg? Or it's also Tom Cruise. They're like in the back of the van. Yeah, they're
all in there.
Right.
And the whole scene's about like about the confusion of the scene. They're like, why are we doing all this? And like, what are we doing in this van? Do you remember the scene or no?
I think it's in the bonus disc.
It's on the bonus disc. It's really great. That was
a Best Buy exclusive.
That was a great example of how like a lot of the script in Ghost Protocol didn't make sense. And so I think it was Berkey's idea originally that was like, let's just do a scene where we just hang a lantern on the fact that we don't understand what's going on here, where like we just make it a joke. There was also, have you guys seen, I don't think this footage made it anywhere on Ghost Protocol where like Tom could not stop laughing?
No.
Oh my God. It's amazing. That we should dig up somewhere. I think there must have been 30 takes or something, or 40 takes.
What scene was it?
It was the scene on the private jet. And they're oh my God.
When they're headed to India?
Yeah. It was he could not stop laughing. It was like, I mean, they just kept doing take after take after take. Evan will remember the details of it because like we were just cracking up at them. Like they were just burning, the shoot day, and he just and for Tom, who's such a professional, he's always dialed in and everything. to see him not be able to. Oh, another person you guys should talk to that'll be easy to get is Josh Tate, who did the behind the scenes. So we did the behind the scenes as Bad Robot on in-house at Bad Robot. We did the behind the scenes stuff for Rogue Nation. And Josh Tate was the guy shooting all that stuff. He was the Anthony Giacchino.
Oh, great.
The whole time. And he was at Bad Robot for a while. He was JJ's assistant for a while. He was production executive for a while at Bad Robot. But he's just recently left there. Anyway, he'll be an interesting one because he'll have some good Rogue Nation stories to tell you of like things that happen. And he's a real great, he's a real great chap. But I'll reach out to some of these people for sure and get you guys in touch. The snow chase sequence, I would love to we definitely had previs for it.
Yeah, we've seen storyboards.
Yeah, you've seen the storyboards. I think we made previs for it as well. It was so crazy that was ever going to be part of anything. I just remember them talking about it, and it was just like...
just because it was so over the top?
Oh, my God, so over the top. It was so crazy. It was like, in a film where there were already plenty of bits that were pretty big, Anyway.
Well, before I let you go, we have to ask you these big questions. Okay, the first one is, can you rank the movies based on your preference?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I can pretty easily rank the movies, although, yeah, I think I can pretty easily rank them, which I think would be, for me, 1, 4, 3, 5, 6, 2.
Wow.
Fallout is
low.
No.
Yeah, I think I was in the minority, but it wasn't my thing. It just didn't seem as much fun to me, which, was just like not my thing. But I mean, one still to me, I think you go back and watch it. The fact that movie still holds up.
Yeah.
The fact that when you really watch it, outside of the ending and the channel and the whole deal, it's not a bunch of big set pieces and action sequences, and you never feel bored. It all feels like, oh shit, like who, like that kind of classic whodunit and like who's who and who, like all that stuff. Like the sequence in the CIA, what do they call that sequence?
Langley?
Yeah, Langley, but they call it the it's the acrobatical one. What is he getting? He's getting like
the knock list. Yeah.
The knock list. Yeah, the knock list sequence in Langley. And I know it was ripped off from did Paul talk about what it was ripped off from?
Rafiki.
Yeah, it's from Top Copy, yeah.
Top Copy.
Yeah, Top Copy, right. But regardless, I remember seeing that sequence, and still today when I see that sequence, it's so much better than most action sequences ever are.
Yeah.
It has everything you want, It's so tense. You're constantly on the edge of your seat. And it's every bit as exciting as a helicopter in the channel,
Right.
And it was so great. And I just remember it feeling like John Voight is great in it. And he's just like perfect for the slimy character he's playing. And you meet everyone for the first time in the very beginning. Like, I don't have enough good things to say about that first Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
4, for me, is probably a little personal, but also was just so much fun. Like, I just have such a good time when I watch that movie that there are flaws in it that I don't think about as much because I'm having such a good time.
Right.
I thought JJ's was underappreciated. I thought the idea, we talk about casting, of making Philip Seymour Hoffman, rest in peace, a bad guy, it's just the greatest and most inspired idea. But also just like the real world Ethan, his personal life stuff was such a welcome thing to bring back into it. Rogue Nation I like a lot. I thought, maybe if I were going to switch 2, it would probably be like 3 and 5, because I think Rogue Nation just came together brilliantly. I wasn't so into Fallout, but that, again, I was in the minority, I guess. And 2, you almost want to rank 2 higher because it's so ridiculous. Like, the fact that movie has 3 minutes or something of Tom just rock climbing, early on is so crazy, and like the long hair, the flying motorcycles, the doves, the like the whole thing is just, it's so preposterous, but it did have a gag in it that I think could be used again. And my friend who's director, J.D. Dillard, who was a receptionist at Bad Robot, and then he's like now gone on to become quite a director. He's doing a cool looking film called Devotion right now. Anyway, he at one time we were joking and trying to figure out like pitches for like a new Mission film after Ghost Protocol before they hired Chris McHugh. And the gag that's in 2 is something that we were riffing on there, which is like where there's another Tom in a Tom mask, like another Ethan Hunt, you know? It's very short in 2, but it's there. And like, talk about the greatest gag you could have with the mask is like another, like he used to call it 2 Toms, you know? Whereas like, wouldn't you just want to see a whole third act where it's just 2 Tom Cruises, you know? And you just don't know who's the real Ethan, you know? You could just have so much fun with that. Like, I just can't imagine anything being better. So I hope there's more of that in our future. But anyway, that's my ranking. What's your guys' ranking?
I think we've netted out at 1, and Charles, please jump in if we are wrong. 1, 6, 4, 5, 3, 2.
Yes.
Okay.
We're in agreement on that. Drew and I have settled in that ranking.
You gotta love that everyone puts 1 at the top and 2 at the bottom. Like, I know not everyone, but
actually, yeah, I feel like there are a lot of people who don't put 1 at the top.
Really?
But we're happy to hear that you are there with us.
Yeah.
It's just there's just no way. Is that?
I think the franchise is so strong that, I mean, any movie can be at the top. Other than 2, I mean, even 2 sometimes there are a couple people who put 2 at the top, but that's the least.
Who put 2 at the top? You have to give me names.
But there are a couple people, you see them on Twitter and stuff. People will put it there. Just there are 2 defenders.
Not on our podcast. No.
Not on your podcast.
No one would dare. No one would dare.
I'm telling you guys.
Well, Lauren was a big fan of 2. I think Lauren had 2 pretty high when we, the composer Lauren Balfe of Fallout and 7 and 8. He had 2 pretty high.
It's just wild. I mean, 2
it's just. I think it's just a testament to the quality of the series, that every single entry is so strong, that everybody's rankings are so wildly different, and you can't really fault anybody. You're like, yeah, I mean, I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, the more important question we have for you, Ben, and you've been up close with this, which is, can you rank your favorite Tom Cruise hairstyles?
Oh, wow. That is the more important question, isn't it?
Because I mean, listen, I'm not going to speak for you. You could have number 1 as your favorite movie, but you're not a short hair guy. So that's what I want to, we want to investigate that right now. So go ahead and give us.
I can't wait for you to have Tom on the 200th episode and ask him that question. That's going to be.
Trust us, we can't wait either.
We've had other people kind of psychoanalyze him. I think McHugh said that his hair is a reflection of how he's feeling about his body at the time, which is very interesting.
Well, I think that's more of a visual thing of what suits what his body shape is.
Right.
Not a psychological thing so much.
I was going to say, the way that first sounded, it was like a little too honest of an answer. Like, I'm not looking for that level of seriousness in the answer to this question.
He gave us a whole spiel about it. So yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really, and he was like being serious?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he described the process of when they cut it. I think for Rogue Nation, and obviously a lot of it depends on where his hair is going into it too. If it's really short, they're going to be limited by that. But he described the whole process of trimming it down and then being like, "Whoa, let's stop right there. We'll stop right there. It looks good. Let's just wait."
Yeah, I mean, I think I here's what I'll tell you. I think I know number 1 and I know number 6 on the list. Right. The best one, hands down, is 2, MI2.
Wow.
For sure.
Interesting. Wow, that took a turn.
Because I'm just looking at pictures of it right now, and I'm feeling really good about this decision.
We kind of like 4. We think 4 is sort of an improvement on 2's.
4 is definitely related to 2, no question.
It's a little more shaped. It's a little feathery.
But another way to say it is that 4 is kind of the conservative version of 2.
Right.
And I think if you're going for it, you're going for it. And there's one thing about 2 is in every aspect of that movie, they went for it.
Yeah.
Like there was no part of 2 they did not go for. They went for it so hard that they made the franchise take a hiatus for many years between that and the next attempt.
But it was the most successful one. I mean, I think still adjusted for inflation, it might be the most successful one.
Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah.
It was the number 1 movie domestically that year.
It's so remarkable. And last on my list for Hairstyles is going to be 1. I just think, we're not having a lot of fun with that.
Wow, I thought we were going to be friends.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I mean, I hate to end it on this note, but I think I'm complete reverse on it. And I think I'm looking at pictures again, and I think I'm going to stick to it. I think
we love him with the short hair. It's like
he's
right out of maybe he's right out of the military. He was just recruited for the IMF.
Yeah,
yeah. I think my answer to that question fully relates to the amount of fun we have with the hair. And there's not a lot of fun happening with the short hair.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun happening with if he had flown through the air in a motorcycle with that short hair, that wouldn't have worked.
No, there is something very dynamic about the movement of him outside of a building with the hair going. It's
still questionable as to whether that worked at all. But in any event,
whoa.
This is I think I think Tom in the serious version of this question, I think he does pretty well. Can I answer this with I would give you a wild card answer, favorite Tom hairstyle?
Go.
Collateral.
Oh, you like Silver Fox Tom?
I actually love everything about his character in Collateral. I feel
he's
like
so good.
I feel like I wish Tom would explore those antagonists more, because I think he's got a lot to bring to those roles. And then I think my second answer, because I don't know if that was meant to be Tom Hairstyles in the Mission franchise, probably, right?
Yeah, but we can talk about his hair all day.
Let's go
ahead.
Yeah. I'll just give you my two top Tom Hairstyles will perfectly correspond to my two top Tom Cruise roles.
Okay.
Which is Collateral and Magnolia.
Wow. Well, Magnolia is almost the same as 2, right?
Almost the same. I don't know. Did he have it in a ponytail in 2? It was long.
He didn't have it in a ponytail, but it was about.
But in Magnolia, it's a ponytail, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought those Tom is actually one of the things about seeing Tom act up close is you really get an appreciation for just how good he is, And it's a weird thing because all movie stars, I saw Harrison Ford, all these different movie stars, they have their tricks. They have their go-to things that kind of okay, I know this is the thing that people like that I do, and are safe things. But you notice when you read words on a script and don't yet see them acted, and then you see Tom Cruise do it, just how good he is as an actor. And I think those two roles for me show how much more there is to be mined in what he can perform that maybe he doesn't, because he's taking a certain kind of role oftentimes in the Ethan Hunts, big heroes of the world. But I don't know, there's a lot of interesting things to it. Is that Punch Drunk Love I see in the corner there?
Oh,
Charles?
yes, I do have a little Punch Drunk Love poster over there.
That's one of my favorite movies and posters and images from movies. Yeah. I love that shot. But
we're very excited about Cruise's kind of the back half of his career and what he'll do.
I can't wait for it, man. When he really
when he can't hang off of a building anymore.
Exactly.
We're very
and by the way, when we were in Dubai, his mom, who at the time was in her late 80s, I think, had just gone skydiving. So
what?
Yeah, yeah. So it was
he's not stopping anytime soon, though.
I don't think he's going to be stopping hanging off buildings, but you can imagine that there are a number of roles that he will eventually take, when his face does become a bit more sort of grizzled and defined in a certain way, and
when he starts to look over 40.
Yeah, exactly. I really think they'll be masterpieces, because when you watch him do that I don't know, you guys, I love Magnolia, and you watch that movie, there's a million great actors in it, but he's really, it's compelling and it's authentic, and I read an oral history about it that I feel was talking about how personal all of it was for both Paul and for Tom, and I don't know, you really feel that character. And then Collateral, you're just the reason that movie works to me is because of him. He's so compelling as this cold, calculating.
Well, and Michael Mann wanted him for the Jamie Foxx role first.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This
really?
just came out recently. There was an article about this in the last year or two, and Cruise said to Michael Mann, "I want to play Vincent."
Yeah.
And then Michael Mann was okay, well, let me call you back. I think Tom Cruise was on a podcast talking about this, actually.
Really?
And then Michael Mann hung up and then called him back a couple hours later and was okay, yeah, let's do it. Like he had to like wrap his brain around it and like, could it work and would it be
Could you
good?
imagine how...
And Cruise knew. He was like, I can be Vincent and I can fucking kill it.
I think it's so cool that he made that decision, that it came from Cruise. That's even cooler to me. And it gives hope that those instincts that Tom has, like he'll take on a variety of roles that'll be really exciting and really interesting.
Yeah, it's really exciting to think about those types of roles, and him still having that amount of power and going to all the great directors who he hasn't worked with yet, and getting to do things. But before we go, Ben, you want to plug something? What season of Snowpiercer are we on? Oh,
do I want to plug anything? I mean, I don't know. Whatever. Season 3 of Snowpiercer will start in January.
Okay.
End of January. We're going to start shooting a season 4 of Snowpiercer, so that's exciting. Working on my friend, I don't know if you guys know Dan Trachtenberg. He did,
yeah, of course.
He directed 10 Cloverfield Lane. Working on a film with him right now that is a Predator movie that is really...
I have heard all about this, Ben, that we will talk about offline because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. It's so cool.
I wouldn't spoil it. It's super cool, and we just finished shooting it last night.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to start cutting that, and I'm very excited about that one. Speaking of Michael Mann, I worked on the first episode, which he directed, of the show called Tokyo Vice, which will be out later in the year, which is very, very cool. Ansel
very excited.
Is that Apple TV?
That is going to be HBO Max.
HBO Max, okay.
Yeah, I think those are the ones I would mention. I will say I'm going to plug something that I don't even really have an official involvement in, but I've just seen, and I'm just going to tell you, like, to get you excited about it. And I'm more just telling you guys, like. But I guess anybody that is listening and likes good stuff. There's a film coming out, I think, in December. Not a film, a series coming out in December called Station 11. And it's based on the book of the same name. And without telling you much about it, it is excellent. Okay. So when you see, that'll be on HBO Max as well. When you see that come out on HBO Max, definitely check it out. It's very cool.
Good to know.
Well, Ben, thank you so much. I feel like we could talk for another 6 hours.
You're
obviously welcome back anytime. Anytime you want to plug anything. But
it was great to chat.
Thank you so much for accepting this mission.
Absolutely. And thank you, guys.
We're back. Sad to say goodbye to Ben, but something tells me we will probably have him on the show again just to pump him for more information. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot to break down here, and just I loved hearing about the deleted scene in the van, which I don't know, is that in the normal Blu-ray for Ghost Protocol, or is it only on that exclusive bonus disc that you have? And actually, now I got it too, because one of our amazing listeners actually sent me a copy of that Blu-ray. I don't know if I've talked about that on the show, but now I also have that Ghost Protocol Blu-ray that we always talk about, that you got. Was it a Best Buy exclusive?
It was a timed, it was like this message will self-destruct kind of thing.
Right. It's a very limited supply.
Very limited edition. Yeah, it was like, I think, a day or 2 days or something.
Yeah. But so I don't is that deleted scene in, I don't remember which version it's on, but it's funny to hear about that scene in the original version of it, and how they didn't really know what the story of the movie was, so they sort of hung a hat on it and just like made them talk about how they don't know what the hell is going on in the movie.
Yeah, that was fascinating. I loved that tidbit. I don't know where that one, I mean, the mission, we'll have to do maybe a Patreon episode about how many different versions of these movies are on home video and where these special features actually wind up, because, I think we've talked about how there were some on the HD DVD disc, which we actually put up on our Patreon. So if you ever want to hear that stuff, you can subscribe and get that. But, things that were on iTunes.
That was for MI3, right?
MI3, yeah. I think there was an iTunes exclusive version of MI3 as well. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot of different versions. We'll break them down at some point.
Yeah, there's a lot of research that goes into that. Maybe at some point that would be a good Patreon to sort of just direct people on where they can find different bonus features for each Mission movie. Yeah. Crazy. So, yeah, we talk about the snowmobile chase, which is obviously our favorite unused bit of Ghost Protocol, our favorite
what if, but
we need to ask Evan Schiff about the scene on the private jet.
Yes,
because he couldn't remember what it was that Tom Cruise was laughing at, or whatever. We need to get in touch with Evan and ask him for more details about that. Yes. I loved that like Tom Cruise had like a case of the giggles and couldn't get it together for like 30 takes.
Something that we are intimately familiar with recording this podcast, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Cruise's mom skydiving in her 80s is great.
Yeah. I think that just, Tom Cruise is going to be doing this forever. If his mom is doing that, I mean, like, yeah, it's in the genes.
Yeah, and we obviously love hearing about Bad Robot and how they kind of grab shots everywhere. And I think, is this the one where he talks about Star Wars and how they had the Millennium Falcon set up in a conference room and all of that stuff?
Yes, yeah. And I think I haven't gotten I need to get in touch with Ben and get him to send us some of those photos. So hopefully those will be in our show notes. If you go to lightthefusepodcast.com and go to the episode guide and go to this episode, hopefully you will find those photos if we can wrangle them from Ben.
Yeah, but we want to thank Ben for being so generous with his time, and we will obviously keep you updated on his projects because he's got a new Predator movie coming out, which I think will be all over, so maybe we can get him back to talk about that. But
yeah. Oh, what did you think of a pitch?
What was the pitch?
The pitch he had for Tom Cruise, the two Tom Cruises in the third act of a Mission Impossible movie. That would be pretty fun.
I think that's awesome. Yeah.
They kind of did it in Oblivion, though, sort of, right? I mean, it was like Tom Cruise fighting Tom Cruise.
Yeah, they did. And then, we talk about the Mission Impossible 2 element of someone else dressed as Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
There's just a whole nother level you have to get through because you have to have somebody else have the mask technology. We should have brought up the mask gag with the bad guy in Ghost Protocol and where that came from, because as longtime listeners of the show know, we're incredibly baffled by that. And
that big reveal that you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. How he had the technology. Maybe that's just like black market technology now in the world of Tom.
It was also just actually McQuarrie had a pretty good explanation for it, but I think he also was kind of bullshitting and just kind of found an answer.
Right. Yeah. One day we'll get a satisfactory answer.
But it was a good answer, though. I will give it to McQuarrie that he did have an answer that made sense, sort of.
Right. Yeah.
It was like that because it's Hendricks and
Winstrom.
What's the other guy's name? Wistrom. Yeah. It was like it's revealed that Hendricks is wearing a mask of Wistrom, and I think McQuarrie's explanation was if they had known it was Hendricks, they would have just killed him. But because it was Wistrom, they kept talking about how Wistrom is an asset and he will lead them to Hendricks. And so they can't kill Wistrom. But then it turned out that it wasn't Wistrom, it was Hendricks. But like how Hendricks would know that, and that's what his plan was going. It's
well, it's also like how does he have the technology? I would assume that mask technology was an IMF proprietary situation.
They said he's former Swedish special forces. So maybe those Swedes, they got a hold of that technology,
Yeah,
it could be Swedish technology for all we know.
No, I don't think so. Too aggressive for Swedish technology. Well, I think, is that it? Is that all we need to talk about? Do you want to give your shout outs? Or you're done with your shout outs, actually?
No, yeah. I do have, I want to give a special thank you to Sonia Miranda. And Sonia's been with us for a while, and this it's a huge help to us to make this episode possible. So thank you so much, Sonia. And also want to credit Luke Burson, our editor and mixer, and I also want to credit Kevin Blumenfeld, our music composer.
Great.
Yeah, and also tell people to go to our Patreon, sign up at the bonus content level, and you'll get all kinds of good stuff. We did a Rogue Nation making of addendum, so we covered some more stuff behind the scenes of Rogue Nation. We did a episode talking about all the different versions of Apocalypse Now with Jacob from Holland. That was a really fun episode that we got to do with Jacob and actually have one of our Patreon subscribers on the show with us. That was really a fun thing to do. It was something Jacob asked us to do, and he's been with us for so long. We felt we really needed to do it, and it was really fun to talk to him about Apocalypse Now. We always love talking to Jacob. But we also did a big episode about all the Daniel Craig James Bond movies. That's a great one to listen to. I think that was like an hour long. It was a really big, mega Patreon episode, just all about our thoughts on the 5 Daniel Craig James Bond movies and how they fit in with the rest of the James Bond franchise as well. We're also going to do an episode about Color of Money because this month is the 35th anniversary. Maybe by the time this comes out, it'll be last month, but it was just the 35th anniversary of Color of Money, the Tom Cruise, Paul Newman, Martin Scorsese movie. So we're excited to talk about that. That'll be a really good one. And of course, we'll do something for Halloween as well. Actually, I think this is coming out just in time for Halloween, right? Is that when this episode's coming out? I think so.
Yeah.
So yes, it was this month that Color of Night had its 35th anniversary.
Color of Money.
No, it was last month. It's November now. Damn it.
Color of Money, not Color of Night. Although we have to do a Color of Night episode too.
Oh, damn it. Did I say Color of Night again?
You did, but
it just keeps drawing us in. We have to do we have to do Color of Night. We've had so many people who were involved. Not too many people, but we've had anytime anybody involved with Color of Night is on the show, you drill them about
listen
about Bruce Willis's penis.
I like to think of Bruce Willis's penis as the third co-host of the show at this point. But yeah, we'll do a Color of Night episode at some point. I've got that sweet Blu-ray. I'll make you come over and we'll watch it, and we'll watch the 2 versions. We'll watch the director's cut as well as the theatrical, and we'll just get into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's definitely a reason to sign up for the Patreon.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, what else? We got TeePublic page, so if you want to grab a t-shirt, show your Light the Fuse pride, there's always a sale going on. So follow us on Twitter and Instagram because we always put up when that sale is happening.
Yeah, there are always a couple of sales every month, and so we'll always point them out on Twitter and try to do it on Instagram as well. So keep your eyes peeled, and
yeah,
that's always nice when there's a sale on TeePublic.
And just like, subscribe, and rate and review wherever you're listening to this podcast. Every little bit helps. Tell people. I know maybe some people are back in the office. Tell your office mates while you're getting your tea in the morning about this great show you love. It's called Light the Fuse. There's 2 handsome guys hosting, etc., etc. Every little bit helps, and we appreciate it. And I don't know who we have next week because we are a little behind in booking people, but we will be back next week.
Yes, we will.
Somehow.
We're also going to take a little bit of a break, I think, coming up. But there will always be episodes every Friday, so we will be having some special things here that will be coming up for you. So never fear, but I think we are going to take a little bit of a break over the holidays. And but there will always be something in your feed every Friday. Don't you worry about that.
Yep. So, come back next week. We'll be here.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. Before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod, and email us questions or comments at lightthefusepodcast@gmail.com. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.